time with the defensive play. Now finds Jalen Green.
Oh, my goodness!
He did it!
Oh!
Jazz, the Jazz turn it. Oh! Cam Whitmore. Şengün goes coast to coast. Oh! Here's Williams. Here comes both teams. Here comes Rocket Security.
Welcome to a special edition of the Red Nation Blogger, YouTube channel show. Got my guy John on, man. How you doing, bro? How you been? How's your Saturday going?
Everything's going solid today. It'll be better if we can get a win tomorrow, but everything's been good. Everything's been good.
It's not looking up. I'm gonna tell you, man, injuries have ravaged this team at the worst possible time and to the worst possible players. Like, Ahmed was suspended, obviously, but Tari Eason missing. It's probably gonna be 9 straight games tomorrow. He said he's doubtful. I saw that by Ben. He posted he's gonna be missing his 9th straight game. Jabari Smith breaks his fucking hand in shoot around. Like,
Crazy luck. Crazy luck.
Crazy. You know what I'm saying? And it's like all of that is just compounded on top of each other. And it's a nuts situation, man. But the reason why I got you on, we were supposed to talk about this earlier. We were supposed to talk about this anyway.
Yeah.
But the Twitter spaces that had went on earlier in the Rockets community with DeAndre, with Will, shout out to those guys, Isaiah as well.
Facts.
The conversation kind of sped up the process of how fast we wanted to get this episode out there because it's a hot topic. It's a hot button issue. And that is the Rockets' potential trade targets. And it was 3 players that they named. They named more than 3, but the other 2 that they named, I don't even want to bring up because I don't want those players. I'm just going to keep it a bean.
Yeah.
But the 3 top players that they brought up was Zach LaVine, Devin Booker, and De'Aaron Fox. And me and you have not been seeing eye to eye a lot. Like, me and you got into it on the timeline in the group chat. Like, we just have not been seeing eye to eye. But you know what I'm saying? It's good that, we can have this pod so we can talk about it. I think we actually agree on this topic, which is crazy.
Yes.
So I want you to bring us in and basically, if you want to explain the spaces how it went, you can, or if you just want to go right into your spill, you can, and leave that up to me. It's up to you. But
no, we can definitely set the.
Go ahead, man.
We could definitely set the table with the spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So the big discussion was around basically how should the Rockets utilize these assets that they have in terms of being able to get a star player or a quote unquote 1A player that's going to be able to change the trajectory of where the franchise is going and kind of take us to the next level of contention. And the 3 guys, like you said, whose name have come up the most is Zach LaVine, De'Aaron Fox, and Devin Booker. And in the spaces, everybody was kind of just sharing their standpoints on who they think they should go for. A lot of people have been on the Devin Booker side of things. They really want to get Devin Booker. De'Aaron Fox is another name who's come up that there's a group of people who also want that in the Rockets community. And then there's also another group who's advocating to get Zach LaVine. And essentially the difference in between all of them is, well, one, De'Aaron is a point guard, so that's the first thing. Devin Booker and Zach LaVine are shooting guards. The number one thing or 2 of the biggest things that the Rockets have needed is shot creation and shooting. And Devin Booker and Zach LaVine both solve. Devin Booker kind of solves both problems as far as shot creation and shooting. And De'Aaron Fox mostly fixes the issue of shot creation, where Zach LaVine mostly fixes the issue of shooting. And the other part that I think is a big part of this conversation is also what it's going to cost to get these players, what it's going to take to get these players. As everybody knows, we have the Phoenix Suns future draft picks. So that's been a big point of contention as far as how we utilize those. Do we go back to Phoenix and say, hey, you give us Devin Booker, we get our picks back? Or do we utilize it in a trade to get a player like a De'Aaron Fox or someone else? Or with Zach LaVine, he's going to be the cheapest out of the 3 players. Could we possibly get him and get a immediate upgrade to our shooting while also being able to have some assets left for another player? So now I kind of just go into my spiel and my opinion of the whole thing. I think all of these players would help out the Rockets a lot. Um, I think with either three of these players, if the organization were to go in one direction, I would be fine with it at the end of the day because I know these are quality players that are going to help the team. Um, so where I land on the issue is I'm very big on De'Aaron Fox. I know other people are
Of
not as high
course.
on him because of his lack of shooting ability, um, and because he's not really considered to be, a top 15, top 10 player, so that's also another issue. But I think in terms of team building, I think in terms of fit, I know a lot of people are wary about the fit because of his lack of shooting ability. But I do think that if we were able to add that level of shot creator to this team, by giving up, hey, we give up a Reed or a Cam or Fred or some other pieces where we can keep Jalen, Jabari, Tari, Amen. I feel like if we were able to insert him with those players, along with Dylan Brooks, Alper, and Sengun, I think his overall gravity and his shot creation ability will help all of the other players out a lot, considering that our current lead guard, Fred Van Fleet, he's not able to create the same type of gravity as somebody like even a Jalen Green, right? And that surely help or really hampers our ability to create 3-point shots. We're in terms of creating open 3-point shots, we're one of the lowest teams in the league. Um, Sacramento has ranked at least the top 15 in the league the past 3 years in terms of generating open threes. Um, I think if the guys on our team were able to get easier looks from three, I definitely think we could see some better performance in terms of shooting. So that's kind of why I'm high on him. I also think he's going to be cheaper to get than any other player. And I feel like what he brings out of the other players on the team, as well as what he brings, as a fourth quarter scorer, as a pick and roll ball handler, as somebody who can, get a bucket in the mid range, that can get a bucket at the rim. I think all of those things together, um, I think if you add that to the current Rockets team, I think it still leaves some possibility for other players to grow, but also gives us that shot creation, that upgrade that we need from Fred Van Fleet. So that's where I stand on the issue.
Yeah, for me, it's complicated, but it's simple. The Houston Rockets don't need to make any type of deal in which when the deal is done, they don't have a shooting guard. I'm not that high on Cam Whitmore. He's a second year shooting guard, but obviously there is potential there. But the Rockets are trying to win right now. Obviously, I would prefer to keep Jalen Green out of any trade. No matter
Right.
how down I am about Jalen Green, I do actually see the potential there. And for me, it's like if you're going to trade for De'Aaron Fox and you're going to get rid of Cam Whitmore, you're going to get rid of Jalen Green, the trade doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna trade for Devin Booker or Zach Levine, those guys, although they can play make, although they can facilitate Devin Booker better than Zach Levine, obviously, although they can do that, that is not their natural position. That is not their super strength. It's just not. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I think that De'Aaron Fox, if you bring him in, like you said, you think he'll be cheaper. I'm not sure about the price for these guys. I do think, just listening to the spaces and listening to Will's point, I do think that Zach Levine will be a little cheaper, not because of the salary, but because his salary is actually why he'll be cheaper. One, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, the injury history too, and just the Bulls probably ready to get some more prospects in there and try to speed that thing up and get some young depth in there. So I think Zach Levine will be the cheapest. I think Devin Booker will be the most expensive because I think Phoenix is going to want their picks back. And his injury history scares me. Zach Levine's injury history scares me. We had this conversation before. But with De'Aaron Fox, the reason why I think he makes the most sense is because when Fred Van Fleet comes off this team, let's just say none of these guys wanted out. Devin Booker wasn't a target. Zach Levine wasn't a target. De'Aaron Fox wasn't a target. But their contract situation was a contract situation. If De'Aaron Fox's contract ends this year and Fred Van Fleet's ends this year, ideally you could just put in Fox where Fred VanVleet was and keep this ball rolling. You feel what I'm
Right.
saying? And then you could, no matter what Jalen Green's struggles are, you could deal with it and have Jalen Green be that that shooting guard that you can give another year to that still has that potential. And you're pairing him with somebody that's younger, bouncier, springier, healthier, faster, more athletic, etc., etc., etc. An actual lottery pick playing alongside of Jalen Green, and a lottery pick that, for all intents and purposes, has reached his potential. You feel what I'm saying? So that would do wonders, I believe, for Jalen Green, for Amen Thompson, for the whole team. But for me, it's all dependent upon what the price is when you're trading for a guy like De'Aaron Fox. What is going to be the price? So for me, I don't think Amen Thompson should be in the deal, for damn sure. I don't think Tari Eason should be in a deal. I don't think Jabari Smith should be in a deal. I think that Reed Shepard, lottery pick, Cam Whitmore, 20th pick that had lottery pick potential, plus I would say even 3, maybe 4 draft picks just to sweeten the deal. If it could be Houston's picks, that last Brooklyn pick that they have, 2 of Phoenix's picks, however you want to slice up the picks is how you slice up the picks. But I would be willing to add more picks just to be keeping my players more so than adding more players just to save my picks. That's just my personal opinion. And like, I agree with you, like I said, with De'Aaron Fox. I think that he is the guy that the Rockets should go to because he directly he's a super upgrade over what the Rockets have at Fred VanVleet right now. And obviously Levine and Booker would be upgrades over Jalen Green, but I'm just saying, I still do think that there's potential there with
Right.
Jalen Green. I'm just disappointed in his play. But yeah.
Right. No, and I think what other Rockets fans, what I want them to also consider is that Devin Booker and Zach LaVine are both older than De'Aaron Fox. Now, Devin Booker is only a year older, but like you said, he does have more of an injury history. He has played, I guess you would say he's played deeper, played more overall games than De'Aaron has played because he's had more playoff series than De'Aaron has. So he's had longer series. There's a little bit more tread on his tires. Am a little bit concerned about what he's going to look like as he ages, and what does that the considering what all we're going to have to give up for him. Like you're talking about probably having to include Jalen Green, right? So you're probably looking at
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Green, Cam Whitmore, Reed Shepard, and their picks back, right? You're giving up in Jalen Green, despite all of the everything everybody can say about him, he has still been 4 years, 19 point per game score. Okay. The efficiency isn't all the way there, but the upside is still there for him to become an all-star level player. So when I think about what all we're going to have to give up and considering what our window is going to look like, I'm a bit concerned about, okay, is this really the right move considering what all we're going to have to give up on top of us having to pay him? We're going to have to pay him more money than De'Aaron Fox because he has already been an all NBA guy, right? And his pathway to being all NBA playing on this Rockets team, I would say is a little bit better than what you would have with De'Aaron Fox, right? So the money that you're going to have to tie
Mm-hmm.
into him is also going to potentially hamper how you're able to build a team around him. And I just feel like what you would have to give up with De'Aaron Fox, where it's a little bit less picks. It's not. It's two guys that have value as lottery picks as young players, but you really don't need them in your rotation. They're not really in your rotation like that. Aaron Holiday can step in to into Reed Shepard's role. And if you get Tari Eason back, there's your bench scoring production. So and if you're able to get back a Kevin Herter or a Trey Lyles, I think that would be even more value to that trade because you're getting some additional shooting back. So when I look at what it's going to
Mm-hmm.
take to get De'Aaron Fox on this team, I look at it like this: you got these two lottery guys, you're cashing in these two lottery guys, some picks, some assets to get an upgrade at point guard and to really ease the burden on all of the other young players so that they have more time to develop into the roles that you need them to develop in. So now instead of asking Jalen Green
Yeah.
to handle the ball all game, now you're getting somebody who can get downhill and that can get him easier buckets. We're talking about a 36% catch and shoot shooter from 3 point right now. I mean, if you can get him some more volume in there instead of doing the pull-up threes, I think we can see his efficiency get better, even if we're talking about in transition. Being able to make plays for him in transition. Him not having to uh, be tasked with attacking the team's best perimeter defender, because now De'Aaron Fox is going to also command that attention. So there's a lot of value for that. Alperen Sengun, he's already had some experience playing with a player like Sengun and Sabonis, so that's an easy upgrade right there. And again, his attention that he's going to bring in pick and rolls is going to make it easier for Alpi to get easier shots, right? You look at Dylan Brooks and Jabari Smith Jr. Again, players that if they can benefit from De'Aaron Fox's gravity, they can get easier shots, easier open looks. So I feel like what you're giving up and what you're getting back, and because at the end of the day, the potential on the team is still between Amin, Jalen, and Sengun. You're hoping those guys turn into all NBA guys, right? So either way it goes, whoever you draft, even if you give up Jalen Green, you're still going to need Alfred Sengun to take that next step. You're still going to need Jalen Green to take that next step. I feel like De'Aaron Fox is that good middle ground in terms of the value that you're giving up, what you're getting back, his timeline with the players, and what he can do for the other players. I feel like you're getting the best of both worlds, even without the shooting.
Yeah, I think the shooting is it's a tad bit overrated in this instance. De'Aaron
Yes.
Fox is averaging more points than Zach LaVine and Devin Booker this season. He's averaging 27 points. LaVine is at 22. Devin Booker is at 25. Both are more efficient from three. And both are more efficient from three than LaVine. Devin Booker only slightly. Zach LaVine is actually at 50% from the field this year, so that's very impressive. But De'Aaron Fox is at 49% from the field, so he's not far off from 50%. And like I said, he's averaging 27, 5, and 6. Devin Booker is averaging 25, 4, and 7, and Zach LaVine is averaging 22, 4, and 4. The reason why De'Aaron Fox makes the most sense to me is just because, like I said, the Houston Rockets already have a shooting guard. You already have your small forward position solidified. You already have your power forward position solidified. Your center. You have a bench. De'Aaron Fox, he's the most disgruntled probably out of all the three players. De'Aaron Fox just makes so much sense for it not to happen would just kind of be a detriment to what's going on. And all the things that you mentioned out were so eloquent. But the thing to me is like people focus so much on the shooting, and rightfully so. De'Aaron Fox is shooting 32% from three this season on 6 attempts a game, but he's still giving you an efficient 27 a night. Like, for me, I don't understand where the disconnect is with Rockets fans. There was a conversation they were talking about with Zach LaVine and Devin Booker, how that you would have to depend on them to be lead guards, and that they could be lead guards in a pick and roll and blah, 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 blah. But again, it all hinges upon if you're bringing in Devin Booker, if you're bringing in Zach LaVine, that pretty much means that you're giving up on Jalen Green. And obviously, who cares if you give up on Fred VanVleet or not? Who cares?
Right.
But the point is, if you're bringing those guys in, who's going to run point guard? You need a point guard still. And it's likely for those players, it's going to cost you picks plus likely Reed or Cam. And let's say, ideally speaking, you leave Reed out of trade talks and you keep him. He's not ready to start full time for a team that's ready to be a contender. He's not ready. So again, it's still just, it doesn't make sense. The biggest jump that this team needs, the biggest boost that this team needs in the ass is at the point guard position. It's that simple. And De'Aaron Fox fixes that. You know what I mean? So I think that for me, it's a no-brainer. I'm not opposed to Zach LaVine. I'm not opposed to Devin Booker, but I don't
Absolutely.
want those guys being lead guards more than I want them focusing on scoring. If I was to get those guys, I would want them to score. You know what ideally would be happening? And I know this might not be ideal for you, but for me, the Rockets have enough assets, in my opinion, to get De'Aaron Fox and one of the two of Zach LaVine and Devin Booker. Do that. Before you trade for one of those three players, trade for two of those three players. I would rather you do that than trade for a shooting guard and not have a point guard, and trade for a point guard and not have a shooting guard. That's just the way I see it. That makes the most sense to me. But hey, I think differently.
Yeah, and I just want to also add on when we're talking about defense. I know a lot of people are kind of down on De'Aaron Fox as a defender. I think he fits right in. Even though he's 6'3", he has a more slender build. He does have a 6'7" wingspan. He's averaging almost 2 steals a game this season. His defensive rating and his defensive metrics have been better than they've been any other season, despite how bad the Kings have been. And I think if you put him around Jalen Green, who's been a better defender this year, you put him around Dylan Brooks, Amin Thompson, Tari Eason, Alperen Sengun, who is a better defender than Sabonis is at the rim in terms of being able to alter shots and keep a lid on the basket. You're not getting that in Sabonis right now. You're gonna get that in Sengun, So I feel like if you insert him with a coach like Ime Udoka and you're able to make that stylistic change to, hey, we're gonna be an up and down team, we're gonna kill you on defense, we're gonna get after you on the boards. And the reason why we can get away with not having the best shooting is because we have a great defense, because we're not one of the best teams defending threes, So our tools mean more than most other teams. We can live with him being a great mid-range shooter and Jalen Green being, I expect
Facts.
that get up to 35, 36. Expect Jabari to be at 37, 38%. Dylan to be at 36%. And I think we can roll with that. I think that will be viable. Now, the other part that I also
Yeah.
want to talk about is as far as Amin Thompson and his fit with De'Aaron Fox. Okay, like I said before, I feel like there is some shooting that we can take advantage of with his gravity, with De'Aaron's gravity. But I also want people to consider again, we have been doing this all this year without being great shooters. He's already not playing with great shooters with Fred Van Fleet and Jalen
Absolutely.
Green, and he's still able to get utilization out of the dunker spot in transition. He can even handle ISO possessions. I think it would be perfectly fine for him to continue to work on his playmaking skills, his dribbling skills, and his scoring ability as a wing. I think either way you put him 1, 2, 3, or 4, wherever you develop him at, he's still going to be a great player. And when De'Aaron Fox is, if you're locking yourself into him for the next 4 years, when he's 31, Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, and Ben Thompson, they're all going to be 27, 28. They're still going to be they're going to be really hitting the prime of their
Yeah,
careers. So
for sure.
there's still a chance, like with De'Aaron Fox, there's still so many options left at the table for where you want to go with this team. So I think that's where he holds the most value in terms of all of the players that we name.
Yeah, also, I think that when you're a bucket, you're a bucket. Spacing matters. I'm not going to say spacing don't matter, but De'Aaron Fox can get a bucket. So if somebody cheating off of Amen Thompson, Fox can still make a shot. He's not going to be like, oh my God, there's no space and I can't shoot.
I
Like,
mean,
that's not
great
going to
pull up mid
happen.
range
And the
shooter.
same thing for Devin Booker and Zavine. Exactly.
Yeah. I was just going to say, there's more to spacing than just being able to stretch at the
3-point
three-point
shooting.
line. What
Mm-hmm.
De'Aaron Fox has shown is that he can score in a phone booth. And that's what we don't have right now. Jalen does not do it consistently. And to be honest with you, he would be better utilized if we can get him more easy rim runs, cuts at the rim, being able to come off pin downs, getting open catch and shoot threes, instead of giving him the burden of having to be a plus defender or try to be an A plus defender because he's not an A plus defender, and also shot create for the whole team the whole night. And on top of that, he's not the best passer. So take that load off of his shoulders and have him play a little bit more of an efficient game. De'Aaron Fox will be fine
Mm-hmm.
if he has to, do a pull up mid range. He can do that. He's good at that. I would bank on that in a fourth quarter situation. So yeah.
As we speak, the Indiana Pacers are up by 8 points on the Phoenix Suns. Um, it's looking good for us. Regardless of how things shake out, it's looking good for the Houston Rockets, man.
Yep.
John, thank you for coming on and giving me a part of your day, man, and talking about this because this was a hot button issue. I think that we, based on the spaces, people probably don't know, but we side more with Assad more than
Yes, yes,
Will and Isaiah and them like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's cool.
yeah.
You know, we all Rockets fans. We all want the best for the team. We just have different ideals, man. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Comment below. Let us know what we missed. Let us know what we didn't miss. Let us know what you disagree with. Let us know what you agree with. All the good stuff, man. Red Nation Blogger out.